Okay, Jake, I have a very important question for you before we start today.
That is never a good sign. What is it?
Do you actually cook, like properly cook, not just boil water and call it a meal?
I resent that question deeply. And also, yes, I cook. I make very good eggs.
Just eggs?
Eggs in many different styles. Scrambled, fried, boiled, poached. I am an egg specialist.
An egg specialist. Welcome, everyone, to Real Talk Podcast. I am Mia, and this is Jake, the egg specialist. And today we have a really fun episode. We're talking about something we all do every single day: the kitchen, cooking, food. And more importantly, we are learning all the English words and phrases that come from the kitchen that you use in daily life. Because here is something most people do not realize. So much of the English we use every day in conversations, at work, in relationships, and in life actually comes from the kitchen. And once you know these words and phrases, your English becomes so much richer and more natural instantly.
And the beautiful thing about kitchen vocabulary is that it is completely universal. Everyone eats. Everyone has been in the kitchen. So this vocabulary connects to real life experience that everyone shares, regardless of background or education level.
Exactly. Okay, let us get cooking. Get it? Let us get cooking?
Very good, Mia. Very good.
Hello, and welcome to your English lesson inside today's episode of Real Talk Podcast. Today's topic is kitchen vocabulary and daily life English that comes from cooking and food. As Mia and Jake talk, we will stop in between to teach you useful English words and phrases. Many of these words are used both literally in the kitchen and figuratively in everyday English conversation. Listen carefully, learn naturally, and improve your English every single day. Let us begin. Okay, Jake, let us start with the basics. The things you find in every kitchen and the actions you do every single day when you cook. Because I think a lot of people know these things in their own language, but do not know the English words for them.
Right. And knowing these words is actually really important, not just for cooking, but because they come up constantly in English conversation. Like if someone says, "That meeting really stirred things up," or "This situation is starting to heat up," or "We need to simmer down," those are all kitchen words being used in everyday life.
Oh, I never thought about it like that. Kitchen words everywhere in daily English.
Everywhere. You cannot escape the kitchen in English.
Let us start with the most essential kitchen action words. These are called verbs, action words you use when cooking, and many of them have a second meaning in everyday English conversation. First word, boil. In the kitchen, this means to heat water or liquid until it reaches 100 degrees and bubbles vigorously. For example, boil the water before adding the pasta. In everyday English, we also say, "It makes my blood boil," meaning it makes me extremely angry. For example, "It makes my blood boil when people take credit for someone else's work." Second word, simmer. In the kitchen, this means to cook something gently in liquid just below boiling point. For example, let the curry simmer on low heat for 20 minutes. In everyday English, we also say simmer down, meaning to calm down and become less angry or excited. For example, "Everyone needs to simmer down before we continue this discussion." Third word, stir. In the kitchen, this means to mix ingredients together using a spoon in a circular motion. For example, stir the dal every few minutes so it doesn't stick to the bottom. In everyday English, we also say to stir things up, meaning to cause trouble or create unnecessary drama or conflict. For example, "He always stirs things up at work by spreading gossip and rumors." Fourth word, chop. In the kitchen, this means to cut food into pieces using a knife. For example, chop the onions finely before adding them to the pan. In everyday English, we also say to get the chop, meaning to be fired or dismissed from a job. For example, 3 employees got the chop when the company decided to cut costs last month. Now, say these 4 words out loud: boil, simmer, stir, chop. Great, and remember, each one has both a kitchen meaning and an everyday English meaning. Learning both doubles the value of every word you learn today. Jake, I love the blood boil one because I use that in conversations all the time without realizing it came from the kitchen.
Right, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So many English expressions that we use casually every day are actually rooted in cooking and kitchen activities. The English language is basically a giant recipe book.
The English language is a giant recipe book. That is so good. Okay, let us talk about kitchen equipment, the things you use to cook, because I think knowing the names of kitchen tools in English is really important, especially if you're ever cooking for someone or following an English recipe.
And also because they come up in English conversation more than you would think. Like people say things like, he's a pressure cooker, meaning someone who is about to explode with stress. Or that idea is still on the back burner, meaning it's not the priority right now.
Oh, on the back burner. I have heard that so many times and never connected it to an actual kitchen burner.
Ha, now you'll never forget it.
Kitchen equipment vocabulary. Let us learn the names and the hidden everyday meanings. First word, burner. In the kitchen, this means the part of the stove that produces heat for cooking. For example, keep the soup on the front burner so you remember to stir it regularly. In everyday English, we also say on the back burner, meaning something that is being delayed or given lower priority for now. For example, the new project has been put on the back burner until the team finishes the current one. Second word, pressure cooker. In the kitchen, this means a sealed pot that uses steam pressure to cook food much faster than normal. For example, use the pressure cooker for the rajma so it cooks in 30 minutes instead of 2 hours. In everyday English, we also say a pressure cooker situation or environment, meaning a situation with very high stress and intense demands. For example, the office has become a real pressure cooker lately with deadlines every single day. Third word, grater. In the kitchen, this means a tool with a rough surface used to shred food into small pieces. For example, use the grater to grate the cheese before adding it to the sauce. This is a great word to know because it appears in English recipes and cooking instructions very frequently. Fifth word, ladle. In the kitchen, this means a large, deep spoon with a long handle used for serving soups and curries. For example, use the ladle to serve the dal into each bowl. Remember this word because it also appears in the phrase born with a silver spoon or silver ladle, meaning born into a wealthy and privileged family. For example, she was born with a silver spoon and has never had to worry about money in her entire life. Fifth word, colander. In the kitchen, this means a bowl with small holes used to drain water from pasta, vegetables, or rice after cooking. For example, pour the boiled pasta into the colander to drain all the water. This is a great word to know because it appears in English recipes and cooking instructions very frequently. Jake, the pressure cooker one is so real. Like, some offices genuinely feel like a pressure cooker. Too much heat, too much pressure, and if you don't release the steam at the right time, the whole thing explodes.
That's actually a perfect analogy for workplace stress. Too much heat, no release valve, and eventually something gives way.
Okay, let us talk about something I think everyone relates to, cooking disasters, because we've all had them, and the English words for cooking disasters are also incredibly useful in everyday conversation.
Oh, yes. I've had many cooking disasters in my life, mostly involving eggs, ironically.
The egg specialist himself. Okay, what happened?
So, I was trying to make a very sophisticated omelet once, very confident, very sure of myself, and I somehow managed to burn one side completely, while the other side was still raw. How that is physically possible, I still don't understand.
Burned and raw at the same time. That's a special talent, Jake.
I am gifted in many ways.
Okay, let us learn the disaster words. Cooking disaster vocabulary. These words describe things that go wrong in the kitchen, and they also appear constantly in everyday English. First word, burn. In the kitchen, this means to damage food by applying too much heat for too long. For example, I burned the toast because I forgot it was in the toaster. In everyday English, we also say burned out, meaning completely exhausted and depleted from overworking or overdoing something. For example, she burned out completely after working 12-hour days for 6 months without a break. We also say money to burn, meaning having more money than you need and being able to spend freely without worry. For example, he spends on the most unnecessary things as if he has money to burn. Second word, overcook. In the kitchen, this means to cook food for too long until it loses its flavor, texture, or quality. For example, do not overcook the vegetables or they will become soft and lose all their nutrition. In everyday English, we also say to overcook something, meaning to over-prepare or overcomplicate something until it loses its natural quality. For example, he overcooks every presentation by adding too many slides until the main message gets completely lost. Third word, spill. In the kitchen, this means to accidentally cause liquid to flow out of its container. For example, I spilled the entire cup of chai on the kitchen counter this morning. In everyday English, we also say spill the tea or spill the beans, meaning to reveal secret or interesting information about someone or something. For example, come on, spill the beans. What actually happened at the office party last night? Fourth word, raw. In the kitchen, this means food that has not been cooked at all or not cooked enough. For example, make sure the chicken is fully cooked and not raw before you serve it. In everyday English, we also say a raw deal, meaning an unfair or unpleasant situation that someone has been put in. For example, she got a raw deal when they gave the promotion to someone with less experience and less commitment. We also say raw emotion or raw talent, meaning emotion or talent that is natural, pure, and unpolished. For example, his performance was full of raw emotion that moved the entire audience to tears. Fifth word, undercooked. In the kitchen, this means food that has not been cooked for long enough and is not ready to eat. For example, the rice was undercooked, so we had to put it back on the stove for 10 more minutes. In everyday English, we also say an undercooked plan or idea, meaning a plan that has not been thought through properly and is not ready to be presented or executed. For example, the proposal was clearly undercooked and the client could tell it had been put together in a hurry the night before. Oh, spill the beans. I use that all the time. Spill the beans come from kitchen vocabulary.
Yes, the beans were literally spilling. Someone knocked over a jar of beans and the secret was out.
That is so funny. I never knew the origin of that phrase. Okay, I am never going to say spill the beans the same way again. I am going to imagine an actual jar of beans falling everywhere.
That is exactly how you make vocabulary stick. Visualize the literal image. Your brain will never forget it.
That is actually a really good learning tip. Okay, Jake, let us talk about ingredients now, because the names of common kitchen ingredients in English are things people need to know for reading recipes, grocery shopping, ordering food, and so much more.
And some ingredient names are actually used as metaphors in everyday English conversation too, like someone who's the salt of the earth, or adding spice to a conversation, or saying someone is a bit too cheesy.
Too cheesy. I know so many people who are too cheesy.
We all do.
Common kitchen ingredient vocabulary with everyday English meanings. First word, salt. In the kitchen, salt is a white mineral used to add flavor to food. For example, add a pinch of salt to the boiling water before adding the pasta. In everyday English, we say salt of the earth, meaning a person who is honest, reliable, humble, and genuinely good. For example, my grandmother was the salt of the earth, always giving, always helping, and never asking for anything in return. We also say, take it with a pinch of salt, meaning to not completely believe something because it might be exaggerated or not fully true. For example, take his stories about his achievements with a pinch of salt because he tends to exaggerate everything significantly. Second word, spice. In the kitchen, spice refers to aromatic substances like cumin, coriander, turmeric, and chili used to add flavor and heat. For example, Indian cooking uses a rich variety of spices that give each dish its distinctive flavor. In everyday English, we say spice things up, meaning to make something more exciting, interesting, or entertaining. For example, the team decided to spice up their weekly meetings by starting with a fun activity before the agenda. Third word, sugar. In the kitchen, sugar is a sweet substance used in cooking, baking, and beverages. For example, add 2 teaspoons of sugar to the chai while it's still boiling. In everyday English, we say sugarcoating, meaning making something unpleasant sound better than it actually is. For example, stop sugarcoating the situation and just tell me honestly what is really going on. Fourth word, flour. In the kitchen, flour is a powder made from ground wheat used for making bread, roti, chapati, and baked goods. For example, mix the flour and water until you get a smooth, soft dough for the chapati. Remember this spelling, F-L-O-U-R, not flour. Same sound, but completely different meaning and spelling. This is called a homophone, 2 words that sound the same but are spelled differently. Fifth word, butter. In the kitchen, butter is a soft, yellow fat made from cream used for cooking and spreading on bread. For example, spread a little butter on the toast while it's still hot so it melts evenly. In everyday English, we say butter someone up, meaning to be very nice and flattering to someone because you want something from them. For example, she was buttering her manager all week before finally asking for an extra day of leave. We also say bread and butter, meaning the most basic and essential part of something, the main source of income or activity. For example, customer service is the bread and butter of this business, so it must always be our top priority. Butter someone up. That is such a perfect phrase. You can literally see it. Someone spreading butter on another person, trying to make them smooth and easy to deal with.
And the thing is, it always works in the kitchen, but it doesn't always work with people. Some people see right through the buttering up.
The ones who cannot be buttered. Okay, Jake, let us talk about cooking methods now, because how you cook something is just as important as what you cook. And these words come up a lot in English recipes and conversations.
And some cooking methods are used as very powerful everyday English metaphors, like when someone is roasted in a meeting, or when an idea is half-baked.
Oh, half-baked. Tell me more about that one.
Okay, so half-baked literally means something that was put in the oven but taken out before it was fully cooked. Bread that is half-baked is raw in the middle and useless. And in everyday English, a half-baked idea or plan is one that wasn't thought through properly. It's incomplete, underdeveloped, not ready.
That is such a perfect description of so many plans I have heard in meetings.
We've all sat through the half-baked presentation.
Cooking method vocabulary with everyday English meanings. First word, bake. In the kitchen, this means to cook food in an oven using dry heat. For example, bake the cake at 180 degrees Celsius for 35 minutes until a toothpick comes out clean. In everyday English, we say half-baked, meaning a plan or idea that is not fully developed or thought through. For example, the new strategy was completely half-baked and fell apart within the first week of implementation. Second word, fry. In the kitchen, this means to cook food in hot oil or fat. For example, fry the onions until they are golden brown before adding the tomatoes and spices. In everyday English, we say out of the frying pan into the fire, meaning moving from one difficult situation directly into another that is even worse. For example, he quit his stressful job and took a new one that turned out to be even more stressful, out of the frying pan into the fire. We also say small fry, meaning someone or something that is unimportant or of little significance. For example, don't worry about what the small fry think. Focus on the decision makers who actually have the power to say yes. Third word, marinate. In the kitchen, this means to soak food in a seasoned liquid mixture before cooking to add flavor and tenderness. For example, marinate the chicken in yogurt, lemon juice, and spices overnight for the best flavor. In everyday English, we say, let it marinate, meaning to let an idea or situation sit for a while so you can think about it more deeply before responding. For example, that's a big proposal. Let me let it marinate for a day before I give you my final answer. Fourth word, blend. In the kitchen, this means to mix ingredients together smoothly, usually using a blender. For example, blend the tomatoes, onions, and spices together until you get a completely smooth sauce. In everyday English, we say blend in, meaning to mix in naturally with a group or environment without standing out. For example, on his first day at the new office, he tried to blend in quietly before gradually starting to share his ideas. Fifth word, garnish. In the kitchen, this means to decorate a dish with a small amount of food to make it look more attractive. For example, garnish the soup with fresh coriander leaves and a squeeze of lemon before serving. In everyday English, we say just a garnish, meaning something that is decorative or superficial and does not add real substance or value. For example, the apology felt like just a garnish, pretty to look at, but adding nothing of real meaning or depth. Jake, I love the marinate one, let it marinate. That is such a good phrase for when you need more time to think about something.
Right. And it is so much more interesting than just saying, let me think about it. Let it marinate sounds like you're doing something active with the idea.
The idea is soaking in yogurt and spices in your brain, getting more flavorful by the hour.
That is exactly what good thinking feels like, honestly.
Okay, last section before we wrap up. Serving and eating vocabulary, because cooking is only half the story. How you serve and eat is just as important.
And these words come up constantly in professional English too, like when someone is serving up a proposal, or when a meeting has a lot on the plate, or when someone bites off more than they can chew.
Oh, biting off more than you can chew. I have done that so many times in my life.
We all have, Mia. We all have.
Serving and eating vocabulary with everyday English meanings. First word, serve. In the kitchen, this means to give food to someone at the table or dish it out for eating. For example, serve the biryani hot with raita and a slice of lemon on the side. In everyday English, we say, serve someone right, meaning when something bad happens to someone and they deserved it because of their own behavior. For example, he was rude to everyone and then got passed over for promotion. Serves him right. We also say, first come, first served, meaning people will be dealt with in the order they arrive with no exceptions or special treatment. For example, Tickets are available on a first-come, first-served basis, so arrive early if you want to guarantee your spot. Second word, taste. In the kitchen, this means to take a small amount of food to check its flavor. For example, always taste the curry before serving to check if it needs more salt or spice. In everyday English, we say, a taste of your own medicine, meaning to experience the same unpleasant treatment that you have been giving to others. For example, he was always dismissive of others' ideas and then had his own idea dismissed in front of everyone, a taste of his own medicine. We also say an acquired taste, meaning something that seems strange or unpleasant at first, but that you come to enjoy over time. For example, his humor is definitely an acquired taste. Not everyone gets it at first, but once you do, you love it. Third word, bite. In the kitchen, this means to use your teeth to cut into food. For example, take a small bite first to check if the food is too hot before eating more. In everyday English, we say, bite off more than you can chew, meaning to take on more responsibility or work than you can actually manage. For example, she accepted 5 projects at the same time and completely bit off more than she could chew. We also say, bite the bullet, meaning to endure a painful or difficult situation bravely because it cannot be avoided. For example, I hate difficult conversations, but sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and have them anyway. Fourth word, swallow. In the kitchen, this means to move food from your mouth down into your stomach. For example, chew your food properly before swallowing so you don't choke. In everyday English, we say a hard pill to swallow, meaning a fact or situation that is very difficult to accept even though it's true. For example, losing the account after months of work was a hard pill to swallow for the entire sales team. We also say, swallow your pride, meaning to do something even though it feels humiliating or against your ego. For example, he had to swallow his pride and ask for help after struggling alone for far too long. Fifth word, plate. In the kitchen, a plate is a flat, round dish used for serving and eating food. For example, arrange the food neatly on the plate before serving it to your guests. In everyday English, we say, a lot on your plate, meaning having many responsibilities, tasks, or problems to deal with at the same time. For example, I can't take on any more work right now. I already have too much on my plate. We also say, hand something to someone on a silver platter or plate, meaning to give someone something valuable without them having to work or effort for it at all. For example, he had every opportunity handed to him on a silver platter and still managed to waste it all. Today's complete vocabulary summary. Let's quickly review all the words and phrases we learned today. Boil, to heat liquid until it bubbles or to make someone very angry. Simmer, to cook gently or to calm down. Stir, to mix ingredients or to cause trouble. Chop, to cut food or to be fired from a job. Burner, stove heat source or something put on hold. Pressure cooker, cooking pot or high-stress environment. Grater, kitchen tool or something that irritates. Ladle, serving spoon or born into privilege. Burn, to damage with heat or to become exhausted. Spill, to drop liquid or to reveal a secret. Raw, uncooked or unfair or emotionally genuine. Salt, flavor mineral or an honest, reliable person. Spice, flavor ingredient or to make something more exciting. Sugar, sweet ingredient or to make something sound better. Butter, cooking fat or to flatter someone to get something. Bake, to cook in oven or a half-developed plan. Fry, to cook in oil or to go from bad to worse. Marinate, to soak in flavor or to let an idea develop. Blend, to mix smoothly or to fit into a group naturally. Garnish, to decorate food or something superficial. Serve, to give food or to deserve a consequence. Taste, to sample flavor or to experience something. Bite, to use teeth or to take on too much. Swallow, to eat or to accept something difficult. Plate, a dish or having too many responsibilities. Practice tip for today: choose 5 phrases from today's lesson. Use each one in a real sentence about your own life right now. Say them out loud. Then try to use at least one of them in a real conversation today. Watch how people react when you use natural, fluent English expressions that most learners have never heard before. This is the English that makes you sound truly fluent, not just correct, but natural, rich, alive. Okay, everyone, that's a wrap on today's episode. English vocabulary from the kitchen. And the biggest takeaway from today is this: the English language is everywhere around you, in your kitchen, in your food, in your daily life. You don't need to sit with a dictionary to learn English. You just need to pay attention to the world around you and notice how the language connects to real-life experiences that everyone shares.
And the next time someone says you have a lot on your plate, or this project is on the back burner, or stop sugarcoating the situation, you'll know exactly where those words came from, and you'll never forget them.
Exactly. The kitchen gave us so much more than just food. It gave us an entire language, and today you learned a big part of it.
And on that note, I'm going to go make eggs because I'm genuinely hungry after all this food talk.
The egg specialist returns to his craft. Okay, everyone, if today's episode helped your English, please subscribe and share it with a friend who wants to improve too. Drop us a comment and tell us your favorite English phrase from today's lesson. We genuinely love hearing from you, and we read every single one.
Take care of yourselves, everyone. And the next time you're in the kitchen, remember, you're not just cooking food, you're speaking English. See you in the next one.